Now, let's talk about nights. As you learn, first stage is them drifting off to sleep. So you want to make sure you find something to put them down wide awake. And some of my reflux parents are like, well, I have to hold them upright for 30 minutes and then, like bedtime feed. And like, how am I supposed to do this? Right. I can help you because both of my kids have been reflux kids. So what you want to do is because, first of all, feeding in any way, doesn't matter if it's breast or bottle, the sucking, especially when they're really tired, makes them so tired, right? Like it really almost gets them over the edge to like be ready for the first sleep stage. Instead, you want to move that bedtime feed before the bedtime routine. With that being said, you ensure that they actually stay awake, they have an engaged feed. And if your kid tends to be someone that dozes off, especially in the breast, because usually you have the body to body, it's snuggly, you can do some skin to skin, especially if they had a rough day. They sometimes tend to feed like this, undress them just into a diaper. If they are a little bit cold and uncomfortable, they tend to have a much more engaged awake feed. I have done that with my son and my daughter. I think Josie was even worse than Elliot because she had so many medical issues in the beginning. We had to like fully undress her, even for a bottle feed, just into a diaper. My baby does consist 10 hours at night with multiple wake ups. How do I get her to 11 to 12 hours? It can also depend on your baby's age and also total, like their sleep needs. Like I said, they start to kick in more and be more personalized between 6 and 12 months. We do have kids that just do 10 hours, even as close as like 6 to 7 months of age. Also depends on like how good is daytime sleep. Are they getting sufficient amounts of daytime sleep? And also just the fact of like, do you have a self-soothing issue? Do they wake after 10 hours because the melatonin production is low and they're used to being assisted back to sleep? So it just depends on a few factors in your case, Rachel. So yeah, back to nighttime training. So usually I suggest all my parents to move that feed before the bedtime routine. And if you ever feel like my baby didn't actually like, especially breastfed babies, they haven't had a really good feeding session, you can also split feeding sessions. So you could offer one breast. Then if you want to do a bath every night, which is not necessary, you can if you want to, but it's not necessary. We bath our kids every 2, 3 days, or obviously, if there's like a lot of vomit and spit up, especially with Josie and her allergies, then obviously they get a bath that day. But you don't have to. So you could actually start, feeding them on one side, getting them ready, massage, oil, or just cream them, jammies on, then feet on the other side, and then, maybe a little book, a little like walk them around and talk to them, stimulate them, and then say a good night to put them down awake. Bedtime routines can be very flexible. And I always say it's totally up to you, your lifestyle. Do you have multiple kids? Our bedtime for Josie is not quiet. It's impossible because she has a brother that is literally just 21 months older than she is, and he's a tornado. So our bedtime routine is down here. Um, and she's incorporated in just, our daily life. For her, it's more like she gets a little massage. We put her jammies on and we snuggle, and there's some light play. And then she goes to bed. And it's more like a 10-minute process. I can't do a huge bathing session with both of them. And then he gets flustered and she gets hyper in the bathtub. So it's very individual in every parent, every lifestyle. And also just parents, we have parents that just come home with one kid at 5 o'clock and they just have that 1.5, 2 hour time spent. You maybe want to spend that time interacting with your kid instead of being in a dark room, right? So it just depends on you. Just keep in mind, you want to ensure that you put them down fully awake, not drowsy. And like I said, if your kid tends to fall asleep on the breast or on the bottle, undress them and then dress them before you put them down. One thing about swaddle, sleep sacks, and yeah, them needing it or not, before we dive into like putting them down, I always recommend get them out of the trends, just swaddles before they turn at least 4 months, or if there's any tendency, like even them showing signs of rolling during daytime play, make sure you get them out. I have showed that in a reel where I used Josie as an example. She has been rolling since she was, I think, 12 or 14 weeks, like around that time. Um, you don't want them to be stuck in a swaddle like this and be on their tummy, Don't do it. Also, they need freedom to sleep. And that's also one thing before we dive into sleep training. a lot of parents still have the bedside bassinets. They tend to be pretty small, and that's okay for the newborn stage. That's great because you can put, the side down, you can nurse baby, feed baby, you can have the diaper change even in bed. It's super convenient because you don't have to like get up, you're still recovering. But, past 4 months, we want them to have more freedom in their bed. Usually, what we see is when they're 5, 6 months, is that they really want the freedom. And I have so many first time parents that are like, why is my kid, all hyper in bed? They turn around, do 360s, and is that normal? Trust me, it's so normal. My son is all crazy in his crib, and like I said, he's 2 years and 2 months now, so he's 26 months, and it's totally normal. They don't actually start to sleep like we until they are more in like a toddler bed, more at 3, 4 years old, where they always sleep on their pillow and they don't flip themselves up and down constantly. Even when they're in a toddler bed, if you choose to do it earlier at like 2 years, 2.5, they still, flip up and down all the time. This is totally normal for infants and toddlers. So make sure when you want to start sleep training, I always say put them in a bigger crib. If you do it 4 months, they could technically still have enough space at the bedside bassinet, but then you have that transition at 5, 6 months and a transition into like a new sleep sack or a new bed because it's a change and they get very used to their setup can be a little bit of a setback. And by setback, I mean maybe one night where they protest more, maybe two. It's not going to be like a full blown, like, but you know, why, if you can make it easy. So we always had a crib for Josie. We had her bedside sleeper actually down here because she slept in my bathroom. Yes, she slept in my bathroom. I don't have any opportunity to close our any rooms down here because it's a very open kitchen, dining, living room space area. And I wanted to make sure I have something that's closed off. It's dark, and Elliot cannot like run to her bassinet and fake it every 5 minutes. That's why I choose our bathroom. So yeah, you make it work as a mom, right? 1 second. A mini crib. A mini crib is okay. You check the mini crib because depending on what brand and level, they tend to have just like a 20-minute pound maximum hold capacity. And I would also check like the length, how many inches. I know that the big cribs, I know they hold at least 50 pounds. I know that for sure because I recently checked. And Elliot, like I said, he is over 3 feet and he still has so much room in his crib. I always get the big crib. But if you have the mini crib, that is fine. I would check how long it is, and I would also check the weight capacity it can hold. Um, could talk about the Dreamland sleep sack. I'm debating if it might help. Also, I'm afraid of weighted sleep sacks, but it seems too good. Haha. So I used the Dreamland product when she was a baby, like a newborn baby. When she was 4 months, I switched her to the same sleep sacks that my son has, and I love the brand Guna Muna. And yes, it's a crazy name. I'm just gonna type it in for you guys. This is the brand name. I use the sleep sacks that I use for my kids once they're past 4 months. They're duvet sleep sacks. They're not weighted. They're simply super cozy, soft duvet sleep sacks. They have anything from 0.5 to 2.6 talk rated. They have long and short sleeves and toddler sleep walkers. Elliot is in a 36-month sleep sack, and he has so much room in it still, even though he's 3 feet, past 3 feet. So I personally love their sleep sacks. They're great for rolling, belly sleeping, side sleeping, because they're just like a cozy, super soft bamboo blanket, but keeps them warm. And I love the long sleeves because a lot of babies, especially when you sleep in at 4 months, they like to suck on something. And Josie actually likes to, use her sleep sack sleeves and suck on them. So yeah, I love their sleep sacks. When it comes to Dreamland products, I personally, like I said, have used them for Josie when she was a newborn. I love their swaddles because they're very gently weighted. Don't think about like an adult weighted blanket. They're really like super gently weighted. And the same for the transitional swaddle. Personally, the transitional swaddle helped her so much because she wanted her arms free at 10 weeks. And that's super normal. Between 8 and 10 weeks, they get just more mobile. They start to play a little more with their arms and feet. You see them, wiggle them while they play during the daytime, and that's the same when they sleep. They want more freedom. But she was not ready anywhere close for having her crazy arms free at that age. Then I got the transitional sleep sack. It's the long sleeve one and it has the weight on the top. And it because it's gently weighted, it just helps them to not constantly stir like this and be all crazy. I got her out of that 6 weeks later. And yes, it's still honestly, even though it is pricey, it saved my sanity and everyone's sleep. And that's why I was like, yep, I'm getting an $85 sleep sack. It was very worth it, and I would do it again, and I saved it in case I ever have another baby. But yeah, I know AAP does not recommend weighted sleep sacks. Personally, I don't use them as soon as my kids can roll because, having the weight on the front and then maybe like lay on it might be compressing their chest heart area and might not. Who knows? Personally, I always tell my parents once you start sleep training at 4 months, because you're working on resettling themselves, even if they startle, don't invest into like a weighted sleep sack or so. Just go to like a plain sleep sack, whatever you want. Just make sure when you get a sleep sack that it's warm enough. Look at the talk rating because obviously it also shows like what should you dress underneath and how warm should the room be. Sleep sacks are recommended until they're 2 years at least, or you can use them longer. I choose to use them longer because, like I said, my son is still super crazy in his bed. Like he goes up and down and turns himself 360. I don't trust him. Let's be honest. I don't trust him with a blanket or a pillowcase. There have been incidents and videos where toddlers, even at 2 years, suffocated in a blanket. I do not trust that whatsoever. And that's why he's in a sleep sack. I want to wait until he is developmentally old enough to understand the, how dangerous it can be to wrap himself in a blanket. He's 2 years and 2 months. He does not understand. The same if he ever, would have a pillow and, put the cover on his head. It's funny, right? But he doesn't understand. I want to sleep in peace. That's why he's still in the sleep sack. I always recommend my parents to keep them as long as they can in a toddler crib and to keep them as long as they can in the sleep sack. It is the safest option. She resettled, but I gotta text my husband because I usually I don't have to go in or anything, and she's just playing with her legs right now, just in case he needs to do check-in, but she's not even crying. So, swaddle seems to be the only thing that helps my 4.5-month-old to settle for sleep. She is active sleeper with her nose often wake her up, and the swaddle helps. Totally get that, but like I said, it's not safe. If your kid is 4.5 months, like every minute they can start to roll, and then they are in a swaddle arms down or arms up restricted and they can't help themselves and you might not hear it. I personally would not trust myself and my kid because we all get very exhausted. Like I said, I would think about using maybe a gentle technique to help your baby work on resettling and being a more independent sleeper instead of thinking about weighted products, to be honest. Like I said, this is super individual. When you start sleep training, in the first place, make sure you start with night times first and you can start the next day with naps. You never try just naps and then incorporate nights. Remember when we talked about sleep pressure, your full glass? This is full at night, which means self-soothing is much easier and them learning is much easier and quicker. If they're frustrated and they're not that tired because it's just half full, you know exactly what happens, right? They yell at you, they're all mean and angry, and they're like, not even trying. So if you consider sleep training, try and train at night, and you can start the next day with your naps, or you can say, I might just do nights first. My personal recommendation, and this is what I practice with my own kids and my families, is we start at night and then we continue the next day with naps. Keeping the consistency is usually the easiest because be in your baby's shoes. If you keep, you keep helping them to sleep for naps, but you want them to be independent at night, super confusing, right? It is even confusing for a 12-month-old and they understand a little. But let's say you're 4 or 5 months and mom tries to explain that to you. There's no point that they don't understand that, right? So keep in mind, you want to make that easy on him. And it's usually the easiest if we keep the consistency.